Hey, everybody. You're very welcome to the latest PhD podcast here at the University of Limerick. I'm delighted to say that we're joined today by Ravi Yadav, who's currently in New Delhi, waiting a flight to come to Ireland very shortly. And Ravi, I'm going to ask you to give us a little bit of background about yourself.
Certainly. Thank you. Thank you for having me today. And it's my privilege to be on this podcast. So as you mentioned, my name is Ravi Yadav. I'm an Indian national and waiting to fly out on 21st of March to Ireland to start on this new venture in my life. So I studied bachelor's in zoology and master's in zoology at the University of Delhi, India. Then I worked for some time in India, and then I moved to Ireland to study at University College Dublin and in field of molecular biology. And there I worked on a very good, fantastic project, and that's where I developed my love in the hardcore sciences. And I was a postgraduate demonstrator for teaching the veterinary students. And I fall in love there, teaching, researching, and talking to people about my research. So academically, I have 2 master's degree and heaps and heaps of research experience in teaching and doing veterinary veterinary lab skills. And yeah, so this is my background.
Great, thanks, Ravi. And just could you tell us, say, where this interest, you've outlined some of your passion there, where this passion, emanated from. But could you tell us where your passion or your interest for your PhD subject came from? Was it something that was always alive? Was it something from childhood? You talked about your interest in zoology, obviously, and your specialism there in molecular biology. So was this something that just percolated or developed from childhood, or was it something that came to you later?
This question is a bit difficult because I cannot pinpoint one particular moment when it's all happened. My love for biology, happened, and a moment I said, oh, I love this one, and I'm going to do a doctorate or something like that. But it happens gradually. So I studied biology at school, at university also. But at university, I have to say, in India, I wasn't very sure why I was studying. But when I moved to Ireland and I start working in this area, I really don't know. Maybe it's because of the support from my supervisor, or it's because of my peers, or I really don't know. Something really interested me so much. When I talk to people about my research, that I'm working on this fantastic project, people often tell me that you really got a sparkle in your eyes and you really love to talk about your project. So it may be because I really enjoy doing what I work on, and I really love, telling people that I'm working on this. Also, after graduating from UCD, I went to New Zealand to travel and to work on some more research projects because I really don't want to jump on PhD right away, or just because I have this I have finished my master's degree, or maybe it's a most calculated move to go on. But I waited because I really wanted to be sure that this is the right move for me. So I went to New Zealand, and New Zealand also I was working. And when I was talking to people, when people asked me questions, I answered them. Often I have seen that when a question is asked to PhD students, they feel hesitant to answer it, or they become a bit reluctant to answer it. But for me, I'm not nervous when the question is asked to me. I'm more happy to answer it. I'm more of upbeat kind of person. That, oh, you want to talk to me about my research? Yeah, come on, let's discuss it. Yeah, so I really can't pinpoint one particular moment that led me to go on in this direction. But it's like it's a progressive, or it's like many moments where my interest, my love for PhD come from.
Fantastic, and it certainly sounds like you have, incredible passion for the subject, which is great, and that will really, really, be of benefit to you throughout the PhD. And having such an attitude will really, really assist you also. So I'm wondering, Ravi, why the University of Limerick? Why have you chosen to do a PhD at the University of Limerick after, you talked about, going to UCD and then down to New Zealand, and now you're back in New Delhi and coming to Limerick. So why the University of Limerick?
Yeah. So University of Limerick, it's a beautiful university. It's one of the top university in the world and in Ireland as well. And so first of all, why choosing Ireland? Because I feel Ireland's like a home. Because I studied there, I worked there, so I know people. And so it's Ireland's like a second home to me. So it's not like I'm going or coming to a foreign country. It's like coming back to home. And choosing Limerick again. I applied to 2 or 3 projects that I wanted to work on, but Yanis is my supervisor. He's the pioneer in the field that I want to work on, and University of Limerick got him. So that's one of the reasons choosing University of Limerick. And also the curriculum, the structured PhD is very interesting. So, and the support system that have there, it's also very important. During the PhD, the most important thing is that people often, or the student often burn out. They just don't care about the mental health and the support in terms of their writing, publishing their papers, or submitting their thesis on time. So I discussed all these things with my supervisor, and University of Limerick got a good support system for the students for their PhD folks. This is another reason choosing University of Limerick. But the most important reason why I have chosen University of Limerick is because the project is very, very important and very interesting, and I really love to work on something which is so interesting to me, because I don't want to work on something which I'm not interested into, and after 4 years I will say, oh, why did I choose to work on that project? I'm not interested at all in that. So I calculated that I'm interested in the project. I like my supervisor. I and my supervisor share the same vision for my project, and we have a timeline. So everything was calculated and everything was fixed, and that's how I decided that I want to go and want to be a PhD student at the University of Limerick.
Great. And Ravi, what are you working? I know you're in the initial stages of your PhD, but what are you working on right now? And do you have a next kind of milestone to attain?
Certainly. I'm working on polar lipids, marine polar lipids per se, and also, to be more specific, Irish salmon polar lipids. I'm working on their extraction and evaluating their quality or their potential to see if we can decrease the anti-platelet activating factor. PFA is a factor which causes the coagulation or the blood clotting in the body, and this is one of the marker which is kind of leading cause for the cardiovascular diseases. And cardiovascular diseases, you know, that the #1 leading cause of death in the world. So currently, I'm reading on the literature about the polar lipids, and how we extract them and how we can use them, those polar lipids, in order to prevent happening these cardiovascular diseases. So reading upon their properties and what we can achieve by using the polar lipids. So I just want to give a short example here of polar lipids, because just to put the things into perspective for the layman people. So these polar lipids are you can see the phosphorus and the lipids combination together, the fats, mostly people associate polar lipids with the fat, and they said, if you eat more polar lipids or the fat, you will you will gain the weight and you will become obese and you will develop diseases. But actually, polar lipids are not the cause of cardiovascular disease. It's actually the inflammatory markers or the inflammation which causes cardiovascular diseases. So my supervisor, he ran a dietary intervention where he has given snacks to people combined with the polar lipids, and there was a major reduction in the cardiovascular disease or the prognosis of those diseases. So we have a very, very promising future, and at the moment I believe I think he has filed for a patent, so he's waiting on that as well. So yeah.
Okay, fantastic. And that's a great insight to have. And just at the moment, Ravi, I know you're based in New Delhi, but could you tell us, what, and that you are in the early stages of your PhD, but just could you tell us, what a typical day might consist of in terms of, working on your PhD?
Yeah. So right now, I think I'm in my second month of PhD. Since I'm working from home, so I didn't have the liberty to go to the laboratory to do any experiments or anything. But my typical work consists of waking up, having my cup of coffee, and then sitting in front of computer, going on the library searches and searching for the papers. Refining my searches, my literature review, reading them paper, which sometimes can be boring, but then again coming back to it, reading again and again, and critiquing the paper, which is very, very important. So it's often that we agree with the author or the writer, what he or she has written in the paper, but it's also very important to have your own opinion about the paper and critique that paper. Or you agree, you disagree, or if you have found something which in another paper which contradict the author's finding or author's argument. So it's also important. So building up a kind of structure, a synopsis or a kind of structure for my literature review, I'm working on that. And yeah, and also kind of UL has many workshops or seminars for the PhD students. So I often try to sneak in into those and try to attend how to write a paper, how to review and comment on the questions from the reviewers. I think one of those seminars you have delivered, so I was there. So yeah, I do attend those, and towards the end, I also do some mental health exercises because I do believe it's very, very important. Although I am not having the pressure of working in a laboratory right now, but it's important to develop that habit that can help you in the future. So I do heaps and heaps of breathing exercises to relieve the any sort of pressure. Although I don't have pressure, but I do have mental anxiety at the moment because I'm here and everybody, my peers, are moving ahead in their journey, in their PhD, and I'm kind of stuck here. So I do have that sort of anxiety. So I work on that. This I can't control, but I'm taking the necessary steps to go to Ireland and to fix this. So yeah.
Yeah, and Ravi, that probably answers the next question, or at least partly answers the next question which I have, which is about, I know, again, it's early stages in your PhD, but just a time when you encountered a problem or a challenge and how you dealt with that or tried to confront that challenge.
Yeah. I think academically I haven't encountered, I have encountered problems in doing my master's and all, but the question is more specific to my PhD now. So academically I haven't encountered any problem because as I'm not working in a lab or anything, or not writing a paper per se, but even this process of starting to get to Ireland, it's very stressful. Seriously, believe me. I applied to UL in last year, and then Christmas break happened, and I think there was some miscommunication between the departments. Also, they are saying he has paid the fee, he hasn't paid the fee. And then finally they got it. Oh, he has paid the fee, and then I got the offer letter and. Arranging all the documents together for my visa and going to the embassy, filing it. again, there was some problem. I really don't know what was the problem with my biometrics and all. So I have to go again and do it all over again. And then and finally I got the visa. And then when I booked the flight ticket, it was cancelled. And so twice it was cancelled. And finally I got the ticket. Then this is sad, but my aunt also passed away, not because of COVID, but she was old. So that time I have to cancel the ticket. And then when everything, because everything, funeral and everything happened, so I have to take 2 weeks off that time. And then rebooking my flight ticket was horrendous. It was so unpleasant. But as I said, finally it's over. I got the ticket and I can now fly. So yeah, to be
Great.
honest, yeah.
Excellent. And could you tell us, Ravi, just about the, you've outlined there, some of the challenges and some of the, the issues that people encountered, throughout a PhD, and the unexpected, issues which people encountered, about your aunt's sad passing, and how, things like that can, really throw people off course on a PhD. But just with regard to an issue or a concept which arises again and again, and that's the issue of impact, and you've talked there about, earlier about the potential impact of this research, at least, from your supervisor's perspective. But what do you think the impact of your project, could be ultimately, in terms of, be it within academia or be it within wider society?
Mhm. Well, the project is going to have a very wide impact because the project is targeting two diseases. One is cardiovascular disease, and another is Alzheimer's disease, which is the leading cause for dementia. So as you can understand that, dementia or the Alzheimer's disease puts a lot of pressure on government for the health of people, put pressure on families to take care of their loved ones. And so it's a disease which not only, financially draining, but also mentally exhausting to the family members, or where you have a patient suffering with Alzheimer's disease. So my PhD has many components, but it has main two components. One part is where I'm working with the polar lipids, extracting them, and then second bit is to use these polar lipids in order to decrease the biomarkers which are leading for the development of the Alzheimer's disease. So it's very, very, very important. I think it will be very nice to see that, how I will be able to disseminate this particular thing, because because Alzheimer's disease, the characteristic of Alzheimer's disease is the formation or the presence of beta amyloid plaques, which leads to the impairment of memory, disorientation, confusion, speech impairment, and all sort of things. So one of my supervisor, he got the cell lines for this particular disease in his laboratory. So I will be using the polar lipids to see if I can, downregulate those biomarkers. And finally, to run a clinical trial also would be very nice to see. So even, although I'm in initial stages of this research, but I really see that, because PhD is for 4 years. So towards the end, we really can see some light at the end of the tunnel, where we can disseminate some incredible science or the molecular mechanisms of these disease, how the prognosis happens, and if our polar lipids that we have extracted that we have, if they can suppress or that they can reverse the disease or anything towards in that direction, would be very nice, would be very good to see. And I'm very optimistic about it, that, since I'm reading on literature these days, people have tried here so many therapies and so many drugs, but people haven't tried polar lipids. What about polar lipids? These polar lipids possess incredible potential for preventing cardiovascular disease, metabolic diseases, obesity and all. Then why not this particular disease? So it would be very, incredibly interesting to see how these polar these tiny molecules can do such a miracle. And I'm optimistic about it.
Great. That sounds fascinating, Ravi, and potentially groundbreaking as well in terms of your research and the potential impact that it could have. And in terms of your career aspirations after you graduate, lots of people don't like this question necessarily, and it's a tough one to answer. But do you think that you would see yourself, working in academia or in industry or in the public sector, or perhaps straddling both, industry and academia?
Certainly, it's a difficult one to answer, to be honest, because you never know. You have something in your head that you want to do, and in a year or in a 2 year time, you want to do something different. So yeah, it happens. Because we are evolving, we are constantly changing. So and I'm constantly changing. Nothing is fixed about me. I really wanted to be in Ireland last year, but since I'm still here, so you really can't say about it. But to answer your question, certainly the plan that I have for myself is after my PhD to do a postdoc for a year or 2 years, and then to come back India and start my own research laboratory on a small scale. My father got heaps and heaps of land for me, so I can use some of the land to build up a small research facility where I would like to start up my own research center. Initially it's small, but then because I will be trained by two experts in the field, and yeah, it's easier to get a job in industry or to find a teaching position. I know it's not that easy though initially, but if you continue on that track and continue apply, in a year time or even 6 month time, you will end up eventually somewhere. That's what I believe. But as I said, you got one life and you have to do what you really want to do. And this is what I want to do. So I want to start my own research center, become a collaborator with my supervisor. He can work in Ireland, I can work in India, and we can train more people in this area, because we really don't have many people working in this area.
Yeah. No, it sounds amazing. And in terms of, say, and I think you've outlined there, many of the reasons for doing a PhD. So I suppose that would be my next question about what would you see as the advantages, of doing a PhD in this area, Ravi, compared to, say, going straight into, a working environment now? What do you think would be the particular advantages of still immersing yourself within academia?
Well, I can't answer this question for everybody, like generally, but I will certainly can answer for it for myself. Because if you are doing that sort of a job, you have a fixed job, a fixed target, 9 to 5 job. But doing a PhD is incredible because nothing is fixed. Every day is going to be different. You really can't have a routine, even if you love to have a routine. But someday you have to run an experiment for 2 hours. Tomorrow you can need to run an experiment for 6 hours, and maybe an entire day. And then maybe, putting everything together in a poster, or maybe writing an abstract. So PhD actually is a journey. It's not a sprint or a kind of a marathon. Each and every day you are evolving, you are learning something new, and each and every day you are becoming better. Better not from anybody else, but becoming better for yourself. You are improving yourself. You are constantly reading, you are constantly writing, and yeah, I think I have chosen this arena to play because I really want to become the better version of myself, and I think PhD can do that sort of transformation. I really believe in that. So yeah.
Excellent and great. And again, I think you've partly answered the next question I have, which is about the advice that you'd give to someone who's contemplating doing a PhD, not necessarily at the University of Limerick, but just, contemplating and going down the route of doctoral studies. What advice would you have for that person?
I think just don't jump on the train on your doctoral journey just because everybody's suggesting you, or just because you think it's a next right move, because you have your bachelor's and then your master's, and you think that, oh yeah, this is the road that I have to take because everybody has taken it. Don't jump on that doctoral journey. It should be a very personal journey to you. Maybe take 6 month time off, go somewhere, go to New Zealand, go to South Africa. I don't know. I went there, so I can only can talk about that. So yeah, work on a farm, work with sheep, and yeah, and then really contemplate and think about it. That, oh, this is if you really want to do, because if you have chosen to do a PhD just because everybody's doing, or just because you think that, oh, it's going to help you in excel in your career. Of course, it will help you to excel in your career because, of course, it's a doctorate. But if you are really not interested, then it could be, sorry, but it could be a hell. It could be very, very bad because you will be resenting your decision each and every day if you really don't like your topic, or if you really are not committed. But if you really feel that you are committed and you love your topic, and then why not jump on the train? Yeah.
Excellent. That's great advice. Thank you, Ravi, for that, and thank you for the interview overall. With some really, really fantastic insights there. And I'll just say, Ravi Yadav, thank you so much, and best of luck. Best of luck, first of all, in your journey to Ireland, and best of luck throughout your PhD studies and with your future research centre. And we look forward to seeing the results of that research and to seeing the impact that it's going to have, because it sounds like really, really fascinating, and as I say, potentially groundbreaking as well. So thank you so much for your time, Ravi. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, pleasure is all mine, and thank you for having me today. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ravi. Bye-bye.
Yes.